Welcome to the Team Builder Show, where the most successful team leaders share how to build, scale, organize, and ultimately maximize your sales team results. What would you do if you lost 50% of your sales team, maybe even more? I would argue one of two things. You'd either say, screw this whole team thing doesn't work for me, or you would lean in and become really good at recruiting and retention. That's what these two have done. So I am really pumped to have Lisa Chinatti and Tom Toole in the house on our podcast because guess what? Spirit of honesty here. They both lost 50% of their sales team at one time and learned a lot of lessons from it. Let's talk. It's been a long time since we've discussed even in like Team Plus, like how do you operationalize your values? So you're using it on a recruiting side, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
So Talk to us about how you recruit to values. And then let's talk about how you retain the values. And you were kind of already going there, but I want to know, like how have you operationalized the values? Right, one is in recruiting, one is you fire to values and you hire to values, and right, everything is about the values. But talk to us from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think understand. The first step is understanding what your values are.
Yes.
Right, personally and professionally. Yep. And then being able to understand. There's always questions that you can ask and ways that people show up, right? Yes. And being able to see somebody in their truest form, and it really, I think, as awful as it is, a lot of it becomes you learn how to recognize it, right? I don't think that there's like a test where you can say, are you honest? Do you have integrity, right? Yeah. But there are questions.
I was going to say no. I mean, I guess
so ready? 1 in 25 people in the U.S. is a legitimate psychopath.
Yeah.
So that means like they don't care about anything. They will say whatever they can to get whatever they can. Like that's a true fact. Like 1 out of 25. So if you're going to recruit 200 people,
I got some
psychopaths.
Yeah.
Right?
Eight psychopaths. There you go.
So okay, but how else have you operationalized the values? Like if I walked in your office, am I going to see them on the walls? Like we did value chips that one year. Like that was just a way for us to like make it fun. What else have you done? Both of you. What else have you done to like operationalize the values of the business?
We did that. They're up on the wall. What we also do is, I like having them on the wall. What I like more is constantly talking about them in team meetings, in trainings, in one-on-one meetings, no matter what it is. And because otherwise, it's almost like a marketing program where they're just on the wall and you don't actually follow through on them.
Anything. Yep.
But at the same time, you also got to live them too, right? And I like when we talk about integrity is one of ours, right? So doing what you say you will when you say you will. So guess what? When we say something we're going to do for the team, we better freaking do it, or we're going to be in a lot of trouble, and it's not going to fly well. I had a bet a couple years ago. Remember the Speedo thing, right? You know what? We said we were going to do it. How many times you made that bet, and how many times people actually followed through on that? Yeah, I'm going to guess once, and it was me. And it wasn't even a bet with me, though. But I've seen you do that.
I think I have that shared on my phone still, or saved on my phone.
When I call Jill Biggs, it pops up. But the point is, though, I'm really serious about this. Like, this is that because we made this big deal about it.
Yes.
Our team knew about it.
Yep.
What am I going to do? Just blow it off because I don't want to do it? That's the exact opposite of what we're talking about. So you have to be constantly aware of that 24/7 in your office and when you're in your professional environment.
Yeah. So I'll give you something maybe, and you guys tell me if you've done anything like this. We created a culture crew internally here, and then we basically said, what do you guys want to do? And they're like, we want to recognize, so everybody in the organization would get a card, and you could say, Lisa Chinatti, innovation, and like they would take one of our values and say, I saw her doing this. And then we put them all inside a bucket and we give out prizes, and then the person that recognized them got acknowledged, right? So it was just, again, I
was in your office when you did that once.
Super fun, right? Just, and not everybody fills it out, but if you get 60-70% of the people and then they're thinking about the values of the organization, right? Then it just makes it more internalized. Less about something written on the wall.
We actually, and to that point, once a month have a culture commander is an award we give out.
Oh, culture commander, stealing that. Good. And tell me what that person does and how it works.
You can give the 4 objectives and 3 KPIs.
Thank you very much. And what CRM's that going?
But so it's every month as we celebrate stuff on retention, right? Sales and volume and anniversaries on the team and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But the most important one is the culture commander, the person who most embodies the company culture and our core values.
Yeah.
Their picture goes up on the wall. They get a prize, right? A gift card, all that stuff.
Right.
But that's the one that's most important to everyone.
For sure. For sure. And I know like Gino Buffari, when he started Intero, they did something similar. And it was like you just exemplified the Intero values. And they would do like one annual person would win that. And it was such a big deal in a 1,800 person organization to win that. So love it. So what else on retention? Like, how do you define retention? How do you define retention?
So part of it's people feeling the love because, I am, you guys know me pretty well, but for the people listening, like I'm not the person that goes up and like says like, hey, like you're like that's not me. Like I'm not that like person that wants to get
like Philly mainline.
Walk up, let's go set some listing appointments. See you later.
Punch him in the face and like move on. Which is why it's fun to hear this from you. So yes.
So, but
how do you define love?
That doesn't mean I don't feel that way though, right? I think that's the thing, and just like all of us, I think Lisa, I don't think it's much different. I mean, she might even be worse. I mean, but so
welcome to the Honest Leader Show.
And no one disagreed, if you notice. So,
yes.
So part of that is like it's not a skill, but it's you got to learn to bring that part of yourself out in a lot of ways. Right. And that was I'm always like, let's go get more business, let's go get more deals, and that served me really well as an agent, not as a leader, right?
Yes.
So.
But I think the point to that, though, and this will tie into I know where you're going, is that's how you and I feel appreciated, right? If somebody gave me an opportunity to learn more, to grow professionally, that's my love language, right? That's how I feel appreciated. Right. But it's people don't work with me because they want to be me, right? And because they think like me.
No, but they do. They want your ethos. They want to be in your community. They want to be like it's all of us and why we all hang out together. It's very similar. Mm-hmm. So finish that thought. So how did you modify your skills to communicate in their model of the world the way they want to be experienced versus wham bam thank you ma'am.
So.
But that's only an honor because I have David Bowie on my wall here, by the way.
Dog showing his junk, so
that's the Diamond Dog, man, from David Bowie. Like, come on, that's Ziggy Stardust. But go ahead.
I'm a little too young.
That was a dig.
Wow, I know, I'm feeling that. Well, back in my day, when the world was black and white, Tommy.
I still listen to Bowie. So, to get back to the question. I internally, I created a system for this because that's how my head works, right?
Yes.
And this is something like Lisa talked about going back and forth on. I had like version 1.0, then she saw it. She goes, let me take pictures immediately. And then we made it version 2.0. And now it's gotten a lot better. But like, it's literally, okay, who's doing a great job right now that we know need some recognition? And it's not to make them feel good. It's also, hey, help them get some other business.
Right.
It's going to make them, hey, wow, this isn't some realtor saying, hey, I just sold 4 houses again, which is like the worst realtor marketing anybody can do. It's coming from somebody else who values their contribution and who needs to like feel it a little bit. So, and who's just doing a great job and needs like an attaboy. I mean, and I hate using that term because that's not what it is, but I think people will get what I'm saying.
But there is some like, it's we talk about like management by walking around, like just for me, like last 2 Mondays being in Orange County and just walking around the offices and hey, checking in, how's it going? How's your daughter doing? You're just asking those questions and people they join because you said it earlier. They leave because of the leader and they join because of the leader.
100%.
So if the leader becomes absent or the leader becomes in their mind inauthentic, they joined because they thought of this and then you show up differently when they're actually there.
Right.
It's a break, right? It's a break in trust. It's a break in connection.
Mm-hmm.
So you turn it into a system, but I want to know the skill. How have you learned to slow down into their green and yellow model of the world and a little less of the red and blue, which you shine in?
Yeah. So we actually like take time once a week to sit down and be like, okay, like where's everyone at? How's the week been going? And we go with
who are you doing this with?
Sales manager, operations manager, growth manager, our recruiter, and our marketing manager. Good. So our leaders within the company, because there's all different components there how we're going to do this. So like someone's 1 year anniversary with the team, right? Like we just did this, and this is when we started the rebuild last year. Sent them all video messages, and they were very personal because I actually I have personal connections with these people, so it wasn't like this is just some system or some canned thing. And on top of that, I sent him like a very personal gift. Whether it was like I know one of the guys he's like a beer head, right? So there's this brewery by my house. I sent him a case of beer from there, and it's like a pain in the butt to get, but they delivered to his house. All good. And then like it was all just like, hey, I'm grateful we get to work together. It's been an awesome year. Thanks for taking the time and choosing to work with us. And I'm really excited to see what happens next year when you're really going to start to grow. And it's a very authentic message.
That's right out of this book. It's called Going the Extra Mile, one of the most important keys to success. So you go the extra mile to really create this thoughtful thank you. How do you scale that to 227 people?
So that's where the system comes in, though, right? Like I didn't order all this stuff. But there's a component you can't scale, and I think this and actually talks about recruiting too. I've seen this with a very big agent in our marketplace. You probably know who he is.
I know
I'm
exactly.
not
I know
gonna say
exactly
anything
what you're
else.
talking about.
Where they recruit people, and it's like they're sent. I'm on the messages, and it's like very like, hey, this is a great opportunity. Schedule this, and it's like a Zoom call, right? Okay. I don't think anyone wants to do Zoom anymore, for the record. Like, if they're in the marketplace and can meet with someone. So when that comes off that way, and you're sent like it's like when you get like the company birthday card, and it's like got the stamp signature on there. Like that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's got to be personalized. It's got to be something that the people are going to care about, and then you have people that operate it for you, but you still got to do the message. You still have to make it personal, because if you don't, that's going to get sniffed out real quick. And but you have people that kind of manage you, like our
manage you. That's the key.
That is the key.
Like, hey, you got to do this today, Tom. And I learned this from
Here's
you.
your 7 recognition videos.
Yes.
Go.
Yep. 100%.
I would say the same thing with recruiting agents. Like, hey, you got to send these 10 video texts out today. I'll take care of the rest, but make sure you send it and you text with your phone and it comes up blue.
Bingo.
Right? Like, because everyone knows if it's like one of those texting numbers or whatever else. Sure. So that's one component, but that's not it. Like when someone's doing a great job and just had like a killer month, like we do these kind of over the top Facebook posts, like they're like all photoshopped, and it's like, I mean, it's like ridiculous to a certain extent. We got one now with this one's going to come out, but the guy's doing really well. Christmas time's coming, so it's like he's like photoshopped in like a Santa sleigh, and we're like he's been slaying it and like whatever, and it's like out of control. But you know what? Other people see that, and that's going to help him get more business from his sphere and his friends.
That's getting posted on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, everywhere.
Everywhere.
Okay. So one of the things we talked about last week in the video mastermind is that stuff performs super poorly, right? When you actually look at the data, and then I forget who it was, raised their hand and said, I'm not doing it for that reason. The only reason I'm doing it is to acknowledge that person on my team. And everybody's like, yeah, that's true.
But you know what else it is, though? What I'll add in is that's actually one of our biggest recruiting helpers.
Yeah, of course.
Which is the other reason that I do
that. Talk to us about that.
Well, because how many people in your market actually do it, right? And so if agents on other teams or people who are thinking about joining the industry are looking at it and they're comparing my team to another team or thinking about what could we do, what can we help them with more on our team that their current team leader isn't doing, right? They leave the leader. They don't leave the company.
That's right.
Right? So if the other leader isn't acknowledging and sharing and recognizing publicly and privately, but we are, it gives us a leg up.
For sure.
Right? And that's probably it's both for me, the reason that we do it.
I agree. And the guy who I sent the beer to, he told me, we literally made a post about one of our agents, and she had joined about a year ago, and it was like Ruby the Riveter, right?
Yeah.
He goes, hey, I saw that post, and that told me you care about your people. I'm in. And like he's like a very driven. He's a lot like me. So he's like, I'm supposed to even. He said it in that many words. It was more like, I'm in, thanks. But
that was
he explained it. Yeah, so,
I'm in. Get me in office. I'm out.
Pretty much. Yeah. But it works both ways. And these two things we're talking about. They're very intertwined.
For sure.
And I don't know that you can really do one well without the other, and at a scalable level.
Okay, I'm going to challenge you both. So last week, so as we're filming this, right, in case whenever you're listening to it, last week the CEO of Better fired 900 people on a Zoom session, right? So, and I know some people that still work at Better, and they have a lot of people that obviously work there, but they laid off like 15% of their workforce on a Zoom call, which he talked about himself for about 15 minutes and said how hard it was for him. And oh, by the way, happy holidays, you're fired. So if you were him as the CEO, what would you do to regain cultural connection?
So regain's tough because he really screwed up.
Broke trust. Once you break trust,
okay, but I know we know. So what would you do to regain connection?
So here's what I did when all these people left our team last year.
Yeah,
I had and many people will tell you don't do this. I had one-on-one meetings with everyone on the team,
Absolutely.
and just wanted to see how they were feeling. I'm like, hey, it's been a crazy week, guys, huh? And we didn't do anything like this, but we when everyone was leaving, we said, hey, so-and-so's leaving. We got on video. We sent it out to the team. Hope they have a lot of luck wherever they go. Blah, blah, blah. Like nothing bad there because that's really how I felt. I mean, you don't want to see anyone fail. But then I literally met with everyone on the team, checked in with them, see how they were doing. And like, it wasn't like a phone call or something. It's like, let's go get coffee. Let's grab a beer, whatever it is. And how do you feel about things?
Yeah.
I mean, these people left. I'm not changing our mission. Our vision's still the same. It's unfortunate they're not going to be part of it because I'm clear next year we're going to kick some major ass. And, I think that is now to do that at his level. I think he's got a lot of work to do, but that's what I did. So I don't know how scalable that is.
I think it's the same. It's got to be personal connection, and it's got to be proving through actions and words, right? They've got to be aligned. Words and actions always have to meet, but in a very quick way, right, in this situation. Because once you lose trust, you've got to instantly pull it back. And I think Tom had a great question. How do you feel? Right? And what can I do better?
And then you watch.
Right. And you own the mistake. And I think he did. I think as I was coming in, I think I saw an Inman alert.
That came out today. Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
That he owned the mistake and that he approached it wrong. And I think that's one of the biggest things that he needed to do was own that was a mistake.
Big time. Well, yeah, it was big time the mistake, and then big time the mistake of being caught on camera saying, well, I let them all go because they're letting our customers down. They were only working 2 hours a day. And it's just like,
instead of, hey, this was a really hard decision we had to make, which is, I'm sure was part of it. But, if that stuff's happening, you can't correct people in a public setting. Like, I mean, that's one of the things my coach told me. You got to have those tough conversations. That's like a closed door meeting, or if it's all of them, they're all one, whatever it is. You can't do that publicly because nobody wants to get shamed publicly. Like it's just not, that's going to make everyone question what the company or what the organization's really about.
Okay, on the flip side, Peter Diamandis, which I don't know if you guys read his newsletter, right? So he's been talking a lot about how do you build a community, right? And he's actually done 2 parts on this. So if you haven't checked out that newsletter, you should absolutely read that newsletter because he's like, basically, look, there's a methodology to build a community. And what you've done, what I've done, what you're doing, right? We're all doing the same thing. We're building a community of people that like, people are like, I want to be a part of that. Like that's a special thing. And you're with me for a different reason than you're with me. And you two are friends for different reasons than Jill is, you know what I mean? We all have sort of our reasons, but how are you thinking about, like, as you're growing from 120 to 175 plus admin, so probably 205 to 210, or excuse me, 305 to 310, and we didn't even get your growth numbers, but I know you got 18 in process right on sales.
Yeah, so I mean, we're with everything else, we're looking to bring on 8 people a month, and then with churn and everything else, about 100 salespeople, and we figure 20, 30 staff members.
So how are you thinking about, different from culture, community building?
So one of the things we've done is, you guys talked about a culture committee. Ours is a little different, where we, and this is probably going to have to expand, but we have 3 people that get elected by the team for a quarter, and they plan one cultural event a month with a fixed budget. And I don't want to do that because I'm going to pick something that no one's going to like doing, and then I'm going to screw the whole thing up.
Let's all go on a listing appointment.
Yeah. I mean
that'd be funny. Like 48 people. Hey, we're here. Go, Tom, go.
The houses we sell, I don't think you fit them in the door, but that's okay. But that's going a long way because the stuff people are planning, like some of it I would have been like, yeah, that's cool. Other times I would have been like, well, there's no way I would have done this, but I'm coming anyway. So it's not about me, and that's what I think people need to realize first.
Yep.
And then on top of that, we also have a private Facebook group, which you have like the ultimate private Facebook groups with our coaching clients, where we do a lot of private acknowledgement, announcements, all that sort of stuff, because the online community is real. And
for sure.
With as you grow your business, like, I mean, we have new agents coming into the office, but not everyone can come into the office at the same. Like, the people just aren't going to do it, and that's okay. But it's another way to connect with people. So those couple of things have worked really well. And then we've got our own company-wide initiatives that we do, like your holiday parties. We always do an event in the spring because everyone's getting just slammed in the spring, and it's a good time to blow off some steam.
Yep.
But you've got to have a plan for all this stuff. I think that's my biggest takeaway here is what's your system, what's your plan, how are you going to do it?
Yep.
And then also get feedback from your people and see what they actually want to do.
For sure.
We do a quarterly feedback loop, and it's like, hey, what do you want us to stop doing, start doing, continue to do, and how are you going to contribute to the company?
I love that. Little variation of more or less of start and stop. How are you building community? And your community now is in 3 locations. That's different than 1 location.
Very different, yeah.
100%.
Right? Like, you're a part of the mothership. We're over here in New Hampshire in a whole separate state, right? Like, do you get a little of that?
We did for the first 6 weeks.
Sure.
After because we kind of segmented it all on September 1st. And for the first 6 weeks, we absolutely did.
Yeah.
It comes down to the leaders in the office at a certain level, but then maintaining a whole, right? So individual office meetings, whole company meetings, whole Slack kind of things, but understanding that the community also goes in between. Like, I was somebody reached out to me via email the other day. First, I got a text message that said, hey, I was in this boat a while ago, and I've noticed that we have a handful of newer agents who are all single moms, and they're struggling. Mm-hmm. And then somebody else reached out to me and said, so I know that one of the company initiative, one of our top producers, was to give me X because I'm a top producer. I have spoken, I've seen this group, they're working hard, and I know that they're struggling with childcare. I want the company to take the money that was going to be invested into this reward, and I want you to figure out a way to provide childcare for this group of single moms that are struggling to make it.
Right.
And that to me was like when I was like, holy cow, like we're doing something right. Right. And then my response was, so we're still giving you X, and I'm committed to figuring out how we're going to put that childcare in place. And like, kudos to those two people who felt comfortable enough to approach me about it. Kudos to the gentleman who was willing to give up a benefit that he had earned to support newer folks and to help the
that's community.
100%.
I mean, that's like when you meet like people, that's like church. Do you know what I mean? Like you're connected, right? It's different than just, I work at, Banana. Right. So that's beautiful. All right. So I'm going to ask you the last question. My prediction for the next at least 36 months is the real estate market is going to be absolutely bananas for no other reason than basic supply and demand. Builders can't catch up, and the amount of buyers that want to buy, the millennial buyers that are coming in the marketplace and more, move up, move down, move across, redeployed, whatever you want to call it, but like 36 months of more of the same. What do you think are the most important things individual agents and team leaders need to be thinking about as they're building their business for the next 3 years?
For me, I think it's going deep on brand and customer service, right? And understanding that the customer is going to demand a better, more streamlined, more efficient process from start to finish, and that the days of turn and burn, right? We can't operate like that. Yeah. And
the world's too transparent. If you're a douchebag, it gets out.
100%.
And it gets vocal, and it gets online, and it's really bad.
Within like a day.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I think so
brand and experience.
Yeah, and then, but not just that the consumer is going to demand that, but as team leaders, I think the agents that we're recruiting are demanding that, right? That we provide really great customer service and a really great experience and top of the line systems and tools to streamline their experience as an agent.
Yeah. So brand and experience. What would you say?
Brand is absolutely. I mean, one of our initiatives is to become the most recognized and well-reviewed real estate brand in the Metro Philadelphia area. That's not like that's not a small thing. It's not a. It's our team.
Yeah, but that's a big. That's
the fifth largest market in the country.
Yes.
So brand, absolutely, totally agree with that. I look at how agents can go out and get their own business and not be portal reliant. Now, portals are very valuable. Like, don't get me wrong; it gets a lot of people started a lot faster than they ever would.
Yep.
If you're an agent looking to join an organization, whether it's a brokerage or a team or whatever, are they going to teach you how to go out and hunt and how to go out and get your own business? Because that's the way you can raise your income, by doing the same amount of transactions. And that's something a lot of people don't get. So that's one component there that's going to be really, really critical. And the other one, Lisa talked about experience. I would say making sure the agents are just so overly educated about the experience, because there's too many people now, and we've seen this, that they don't, like, they get the lead, they close a sale, but then something goes wrong and they have no idea what to do, like a title issue, mortgage issue, something else. The agents have got to do a better job, and they either got to go to a place that's going to teach them or learn something that when something goes wrong, I have a plan to help get them through it. Because it's still gonna suck. Like, these things go wrong. Like, there's a paper roadway that was here from 1942 and no one knew about it, and you can't buy this house now, or it's landlocked. Like, that stuff happens.
That doesn't happen in Orange County, California.
I'm sure it doesn't. Yeah,
it must be an East Coast thing.
It's definitely a Philly thing.
But you're laughing because
it happens.
You have these homes that haven't turned.
Massachusetts, right?
Exactly,
100 years. The last time they transacted, people could buy homes without title insurance. I mean, it's crazy.
Right.
So let's say a bad lender experience that happens everywhere. How does the agent navigate that to take the stress off the consumer? And that's not just a better experience, but like managing, like, hey, you know what? This happens a lot, and here's what I've seen goes on, and not be so reactionary, but actually understand the process. And agent education to me is something that like every board of realtors, they should be focusing on that stuff and not like how to determine if there's mold in a house.
Yeah. It's interesting. I answered, I don't know, like 50 questions the last couple of days on Instagram Q&As. And thank you. I see your name every now and then. I never see you on there. I'm just busting your chops. But one of the questions was, how do I as a, I want to say the woman said, how do I as a single agent, mother of 2 kids, manage expectations of clients, right? Like, how do I set boundaries? And my response was, you can't, because the consumer doesn't care. This is the one time they're going to buy a house in 10 years. So it's 24 hours a day, all consuming for them. So the answer is you need a partner, you need an assistant, you need better communication processes. And then I was thinking about Erica Wolf, who's one of our clients, who said, I was able to cut out 60% of my inbound buyer or seller under contract questions by recording on video, like all the FAQs that would happen. And you don't send them out automatically. You only send them when you get that question.
Right.
And she doesn't have to do it. Her assistant does it. Oh, that's a if this, then that. And I couldn't put that into the Q&A because it was too long. But like, to your point, it's client experience. Oh, it's bananas. She's going to do a whole thing on the January Elite. She's going to do a whole breakout session just on that and show how she did it. It's big shout out to the Wolf of real estate, Erica Wolf. It was bonkers when she showed it last week, the video mastermind. Anyway, brand, customer experience, agent experience, which I heard you both say, but it all goes back to the consumer, right? It all goes to the consumer. Okay, so that's the next 36 months. We covered a lot of ground. We have to do another meeting. So everyone knows where to follow you. They should definitely connect with you guys more. And if they send you questions, will you promise to answer?
I answer every question, because if you don't, it doesn't bode well for you later.
Right.
Same here.
Okay.
Yeah, tons.
So I've asked this question only to a few people. Do you guys get any referrals from the Tom Ferry ecosystem?
Tons.
Why is that? And what do you recommend? And this is a total random question. What do you recommend for agents that want to send and receive more referrals, whether it's inside my community or other communities? It doesn't matter, because agent referrals is, to me, is like, if you're gonna have a referral fee paid, that's the one you want.
100%.
Start giving back to the agent community more.
Yes.
I mean, we a couple years ago, you got me started on doing like all these video shows, right? We do one that's very agent centric.
Yep.
And
Tom's takes.
Bug that just flew into my eye here. You need to get an exterminator, Tom.
Brian, you got that? I almost found it.
I literally had it like it went right into my eye.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you. I'm good.
Agent referrals. Go ahead. This is actually air detox. Yes. All right. If you're only listening to the audio, you need to jump over to YouTube. Okay. So Tom, how do I get more agent
back
referrals?
More to the community, right? I mean, 100%. People ping me all the time because I've done all this expired work with you, and that was a major lead pillar for us. But if you don't respond to them and actually tell them like, hey, here's what you need to do, or have some sort of response that you can send them, similar to what you talked about with Erica Wolf, like we've recorded a video, all the mailers, an outline of what everyone wants, and we send it out to people. And that's really, they don't like, but you have to actually respond.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
It took me a long time to build up. I mean, I didn't start getting referrals as soon as I joined coaching. That was over 10 years ago. But when you build up trust and you actually get back to people, you're always going to get more back than you give. But if you make it intentional to give a lot, you're really good at this, especially inside the Facebook groups.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the number one way to do it.
Yeah.
I agree. Contribution, right? And without the expectation of anything in return.
Right.
But I think much the same to Tom. My office is an open door policy, right? We have people in every single week who have questions about how to do this or how to do that. And my response is, come see it for yourself.
Exactly.
Right? No secrets here.
Yep. That's a very powerful move, right? I saw you doing that and I'm like, that is so smart. Just like, hey, come to ours, come check it out. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. You can just watch and observe.
100%. Well, then you know how good we are, right?
For sure. But it's
also
there's
real
also,
life. It's not on stage.
Yeah, I was thinking too. Like it's when you came to the office with your original data analyst, and I was just like, "Hi, good to see you. Go talk to them. Like you're not, like go do your thing." And then I'd walk by and see them all just like nerding out over a bunch of screens, looking at all this data, and I could see your brain spinning. I'm like, "Yeah, this is how we do what we do here." And now you're going to take that, and now you could show it to 10 more agents, and everything gets better, right?
100%.
All right.
Bingo.
I love you guys. I really, really do.
It's mutual.
Yeah. I've never really said that on a podcast. I don't think I have.
Congratulations, Lisa.
You are the first. You are the first. It could just be an East Coast vibe thing. All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much for listening to this. Make sure you follow them on all the social channels. And obviously, if you have questions, you now know you can DM them on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, probably on your Tinder channel, right, Tom? Just kidding. Yeah. Snapchat, TikTok.
Don't tell my wife about that.
No, I'm just busting your chops. All right. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.